Hey artists, we're going to paint our Thanksgiving tier tray kit, and as promised, I'm going to start by showing you how to do this garland, so if you want to tune out after that, you're welcome to. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm just going to paint the background of this, and it is going to be white. This light right here, will you turn it on?
Oh.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry.
Okay. So, just need a little bit of white from your pouch. Dip and dab, dab, dab. Again, like always, I have separated out all my pieces over here, which you'll see in just a minute, by color. And that helps you stay organized and use your paint efficiently. And I'm just going to do the background of this, and then once we paint the other pieces, we'll put the pumpkin and the little heart on here. I'm just going to paint it up real quick so we can get to the assembly. So paint this first so that it has time to dry before you start trying to put it together. Pieces like this, if you have some tape and you want to tape the bottom of it, put a piece of tape on the bottom of it and then stick it onto a piece of your cardboard. It'll help you from getting any, well, paint on your fingers, but also any fingerprints on the edges of your piece, and just keeps it in place easier. So it's one little trick. Also, I have a thing of water over here. We'll use that technique we learned a few months ago about like a faux stain. You can also add water to your wedge and before you use the white paint, and that's going to give you a nice whitewash. Okay, so this is paint. I'm going to set it to the side, let it dry. So to put together your garland, you have, let's see, 2 different sizes of twine. So you have several pieces of this thicker twine that are all about the same length, and then you have a real small piece. So what you're going to do is just line up all the ends of your pieces on one end. Okay, kind of, they're going to be different lengths once you tie it all together, and you can trim it however you'd like, but that's just how we're going to start, with our ends all together on one side, fold it over and find that midpoint. Okay, and you're going to use this little small piece to just tie it together. It's not permanent. We're going to take that off in a little bit, so it doesn't have to be perfect. And then go ahead and just keep that kind of folded in half, but we're gonna need to string your beads through, not your beads, your smaller twine through here. So you have some twine that is thinner, and it's your longest piece. That's what we're gonna string everything onto. And then this longer piece is gonna be used, we're gonna wrap this around to make the top of your tassel. Okay, so we'll get to that in just a second. All right, so now you're gonna do a little just soap on a rope kind of knot on for this piece. You don't need to do it at the halfway point, because we don't necessarily need this tail to be that long. So just fold it in half, or not in half, but do a fold and string that through here. Okay, and then put your fingers through there, through the little hole, and grab both ends of your twine and just pull that all the way through that loop, and then tighten that, and that's going to be your soap on a rope knot, and that's how your pumpkin tag is going to hang. For this little guy, you can either tie this in a knot and just cut off the excess, just cut off this little thing. What I like to do is just add a little bit extra detail. I'm going to spin this around like so, and with an extra piece of your silicone paper, what you're going to do, so I have that kind of wrapped around, get out your super glue that came in your kit. You just take off this red rim, screw this back on. It's going to puncture it when you do so, and you just need a small dab on here. Make sure you have, with your extra silicone paper on the back, working on the back of that knot, and then pull these. You don't want to get super glue on your fingers, so just make sure you're using that silicone paper to do this. Mine was already kind of frayed, so bear with me here. Okay, so I'm going to put some super glue on here and on these ends, and then with my silicone paper, I'm going to push that down so I don't glue my fingers. And just hold that for a couple seconds. The silicone paper is not going to stick to it. That's the point of doing it this way. And then I'll snip off the extras there, the little extra tail. Once that has kind of dried, don't do that. Okay, I'm kind of pinching it. And again, this is optional. If you just want to tie a knot and call it a day, that is fine too. Okay, so that's staying now. And I'm just going to trim these off a bit to clean it up. And that's going to be the back. So I'm not super concerned with that, but then you've got your front up here, and it's just got a nice kind of little extra detail there. All right, so now same thing with the end of this. This is thinner because we need to make sure that it fits through the holes of your beads. So I want to make it kind of like the end of a shoelace. I'm going to add a dab of super glue on the end of here, and then I'm just going to kind of groom the end of this twine and kind of twist it to tighten those in there. And just kind of twisting and pinching, so I get a nice stiff and small end here. Okay, and you can do that again if you start to get some fraying going, but also if you get some fraying, it's not that big of a deal. You should be able to string all of your beads on with no problem. Okay, so make sure that you're not going to glue your beads onto the tip. Make sure it's dry. One end of your bead is going to be a little bit smoother than the other, so try to go through that end. It'll help prevent some of that fraying. And just string up all of your beads. This end. Almost done. Okay, so you don't want these to be super tight, so don't like push it real tight when you get to the end. All right, so leave that for just a minute. Come back over to your piece here, and with your longer piece of twine, you can go ahead and put this through here if you'd like, and then that way you don't have to worry if when you're doing this it gets too tight. You don't want to not be able to string back through. So I'm just going to start this with a knot, and you do want it to be pretty tight because you're going to pull it tighter. You're going to pull on your, okay, I lost my other end here. Okay, there it is. It was just too short. Okay. Pull that nice and tight. Right. Pull this end up and keep it available till the end. Okay, and just start twisting this round and round. You can make it real thick, or you can make it wide. Make sure you're pulling it nice and tight as you go. Okay, and then once you've reached the end, go ahead and tie those together. Tie them together kind of on top of that opening that you made. Okay, so I've got a knot in there. And then twine is not like super slippery, so I don't foresee anything happening with this knot that I've done. You can kind of push those ends and that knot into that hole if you're worried about it coming undone, or make it a little less visible. I'm going to add a dab of my super glue. Okay, that's gonna definitely keep it from going anywhere. And then I'm just gonna snip these ends off. Okay, and we're done with this little part here, so we can go ahead and untie that. And what we want to do is tie this to our tag. So now it's strung on here, you've got your two ends. Just go ahead and tie your tassel. And remember, you don't want to make it where your beads don't have any wiggle room, because then it will be stiff and hard to kind of use. So I do want a little bit closer though. All right, let's try that. Yeah, that's good. Pull your two ends, kind of give it a knot. Okay, and you can mess with this. I mean, if you want to push this back through here to give it a little extra security, you can. There's just lots of options. Okay, so I'm going to end with my knot. Okay, so I've knotted that. Adding a dab of super glue again, just to that knot that I just did, and that's just to keep it from fraying out. Okay, I don't want my beads to get super glued. And then I'm going to snip that off, and I can push it into the end of my last bead to kind of hide that away. And there you go. There's your little tassel. You can, you know, fray these out some, whatever you'd like to do to have the finished look you'd like. So there you go. Okay, so moving on to the rest of our pieces. As I mentioned before, I have them kind of separated by color. And you guys received an extra piece of silicone paper. I'm using just the backs of shipping labels. It works just the same. So what I wanted to show you, I didn't separate everything out because kind of what I wanted to show you is that the pieces that you get these on, take them off and then put them on your extra silicone paper, so that like it would have been hard to paint this orange and this red while they're on the same paper. So I'm going to do that with the rest of these. So this is going to be tan. And then this is going to go red, orange, red, orange, red. And this is going to be this dark brown. Your pie is going to be a mixture of your tan and your orange. And then let's see, that's white. This is black, tan, brown. I think we're good. I'm going to do this bottom part orange. The rest of it's going to be covered up by these two pieces. So let's go ahead. I'm going to do this last since I have to mix colors for that. And I'm going to start with this one because it is only tan. Okay. One of the things that I will say is I kind of struggled with the color to do the gather letters. So I'm going to do them black, but I also thought painting your little tiles with this tan and doing black could look good. White with this tan could look good. White with this brown, you know, white tile, brown letters. There's a lot of options, and I have to make a decision. So anyway, as usual, I'm going to cut just the tiniest corner off of this, and I'm going to squirt out just a tiny bit of paint because you really don't need a lot at all. And then that way this will kind of seal back up. And if you need to reuse this, do a second coat later or use it for a different project altogether, that's fine. You'll notice I am reusing some wedges, so they look a little scary. And that is because, guys, these wedges used to come in a bag with 32 pieces, and they were $7.99 for a bag. These wedges now are $43 for a bag of 32 wedges. It is crazy. And so I am going to be reusing the ones I have for as long as I can, because I am terrified of running out. And not all wedges are created the same. I used to be able to buy several different kinds, and these are the only ones I can find now that are nice and firm and bounce back and are sturdy enough. They don't like fall apart and leave little pieces all over. They don't absorb way too much, all that good stuff. Okay, so orange and red both kind of, if you want a real strong coverage, you're going to want to do 2 coats. So go ahead and start with them so that you can see what it's going to look like. once it dries, and you have time to go back and do a second coat if you would like to do so. Remember, when you're painting, use you know, nice even pressure. And just for fun, I'm gonna leave that little stem unpainted for the most part, and when we get to using that dark brown, I'll make the stem dark brown. And actually, I have been, if you guys follow me on social media, I've been learning how to paint without 3D pieces, and it's something I've always loved to do, but haven't ever really taken the time to invest to really master it. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pour out just a tiny bit of this brown, and I'm going to try something that I've been learning, just shading, to kind of bring some more character to your pieces. So I just wanted a little bit worked in with some orange. Also, I want a little bit of that darker color worked in with some orange, and I'm going to try to just do some swipe shading. And the nice thing about this is that you can go back over it if you don't like it with orange, and it's no big deal. So gonna fill this in a little bit more with orange. Don't love that middle section here. So the other thing is if you keep a damp rag. So I have some water over here because we're going to use that faux staying technique. So I have a little bit of water over here, and this is just a rag that I keep handy. So I'm going to just, right in that middle where it got darker than I wanted, I'm going to take that out, and I'm going to snip off this end because I'm mixing. My brown got where I didn't want it, so taking that off, and I'm going to use this other end for brown so that doesn't happen again. Okay, and just gonna go back over it, kind of blend that in. And since I have this out, I'll go ahead and do my stem. Okay, so with this tiny little detail, I'm gonna use the flat end. I'm gonna pinch it to make it a little bit curved to get down in there, and I'm just gonna swipe down. Okay, so there is my pumpkin. All right, so that's where I'm gonna leave it. All right, and these are done drying. I'm gonna do one more little coat of orange now, and then like I said, if I decide later, I'm gonna do another one, totally up to you. All right, moving on to red. Tiny snip on the corner. Pouring out just a little. Can you guys tell I'm frugal? All right, let's use this guy here. Used him for red before. All right, dip and dab, dab, dab. Oh, you know what? That bottom of that pan is supposed to be orange too. Okay. Again, like I said, red, you might want to do a second coat also. So just get that first coat down, nice even pressure. So I've mentioned before that I don't like to paint the edges of my pieces. So that's why I say nice even pressure, because it leaves a good like solid line as opposed to like a gloppy or a like wavy line. But I will tell you guys a little trick. If you do get paint on your edges and you don't like it there, or it's more than you would like, or uneven or whatever, something that I have started doing, you can get just a Sharpie marker. The ones that are the chisel tip are a little bit better than, you know, the normal tip Sharpie marker. But you can just go around the edge with the Sharpie, and it covers that up and gives you, I like the edges to be darker because I think it helps, you know, really show off that three-dimensional. It's like a shadowing almost, so I like it like that. Some people paint their edges, and that's fine too. But I've been doing that when my daughter paints pieces. I will go around the edge with a Sharpie, and it really helps to make it look cleaner at the end of the day. And you know, she's not as good about not getting paint on the edges, you know, gloppy paint on the edges. Kids like to use a lot of paint. That was one of the first things I learned when we do kids' birthday parties a lot, and they are so much fun. But one of the first things that I learned when we first started is that kids like to just like glop the paint on there. So you gotta watch them. All right, let's move on to this brown, because if you haven't done a faux stain with us before, I want to kind of go over that. So I have just a jar over here with some water in it. So I'm going to really work some water into this wedge that I'm going to use. With your wedges, guys, if you can cut them. So if you're using a color and you need a fresh piece of your wedge, but you don't want to run out, just trim off the very, very end of it. That's what we've been doing at kids' birthday parties also, and it works great. You're just trim off, you know, the very tip of it, and you have the whole rest, and you can keep going. Weird little thing. I had a girl at one of our kids like painting camps. She wanted to use one wedge the whole time, so she would only let us trim off like the tiniest little thing. And then she took the rest of her wedges home, and that just made her happy, and that's what we're about. So okay, so for this faux stain, really, like I said, this is pretty wet. I squeezed out most of the water, but it still holds quite a bit, and I just want to work that paint into this really, really well, because I'm going to swipe it onto here. Use long strokes all the way so you don't get those like stop marks. Okay, I'm gonna work some more in, and then I'm gonna dab a little bit into the water. It just helps move the paint more easily. And I'm not following my own rules here. I'm gonna wipe into those stop marks I just made. And you can, if you kind of go over one spot more, or you get more paint into your wedge, and then do some strokes, you're gonna get kind of a, you see that, you know, like to add some character. Those darker lines just kind of add a little bit to it. But if you want just a smooth finish, just at the end, take the side of your wedge that doesn't have any paint on it and just wipe over. It's going to smooth everything out, and just the natural wood is going to soak in differently and give you that real natural stain finish, natural looking stain finish. Okay, so now that I'm seeing how dark that turned out, I was thinking it'd be a little bit lighter. I think I probably am going to do my gather letters in white. So change plans. All right, let's get all these guys stained up real quick. With the stain, you don't really want to use that dabbing motion. You can, depending on how much water you have in your sponge, but you're not gonna work that paint into the kind of the natural wood. It's gonna all lay the same, which is what we want on most pieces. But when we're aiming for this faux stain, I would say use more of a swipe. And because your paint is real thinned out with your water anyway, you're not gonna get gloppy. Okay, one of the things that I've been working on is, a lot of the questions I get are, how do I decorate both sides of my tray? And how do I get my pieces to stand? So we've been sending these little stands in your kits now. So, and those are reusable. You can use them month after month. They don't have to stay with each of your monthly kits. But the other thing is, we have a tier tray design that we're cutting out of wood, and you assemble it and paint it, and it is it's kind of like an open rectangle, I guess you could say, more like a shelf. And so if you're displaying your tier tray somewhere that has a wall behind it, like in an entryway, or anyway, somewhere that has a wall behind it, and you don't normally decorate all three sides, I thought something that was designed to work that way could work really well for y'all. And I'm really liking how it looks. So we're testing out the design and working out, just making sure, you know, that all the pieces fit together really, really well, and that it's something that we can ship and y'all can complete with no problem, no issues. So be on the lookout for that. And I think what we're gonna do is, you can obviously purchase it outright and we'll just ship it to you. But also, if you wanted to, if there's a month coming up that maybe you don't normally decorate for or something, and you would prefer to get the kit with this DIY tier tray, the actual tray, not the decorative pieces, will let you sub out your kit for that month for the, what am I trying to say? For the tray. So we have that in the works. This is a super busy time of year, so bear with us. I do want to get that out to you guys as fast as I can, but this is a busy season, you know, getting into the holidays. We have a big vendor show coming up this weekend. And so I'm anxious to get that out to you guys, but I want it to be done right and well and be a good experience for you. So we're going to, you know, make sure before we put it out there that it's exactly how we want it to be. Okay, I'm painting this background just so that it's not raw wood. And this is going to go on this little tag. So I wanted to do white so that it would kind of stand out. You could do black if you wanted to. I'm thinking that black is not going to stand out too well on that darker brown. So you can lighten the brown if you want to make like a custom stain color. Just make sure you have plenty of paint, but make sure that if you're going to do that, you mix enough all at once to cover everything that you need to cover, because it's really hard once you mix something to go back and mix more of that exact same color. So okay, I'm going to leave the middle of that because our little, oh, here he is. He's going to go in the middle. I'll go ahead and put him together. Just line him up on the bottom. Okay. All right, and I am happy with this coverage, so I'm actually going to go ahead and stick these guys on, because I like getting stuff done and then put, you know, out of the way and seeing how it all is coming together. Sometimes it makes me change my mind about how I'm going to do a piece or something. So okay, and everything has a little heart that you guys can put on. They're optional, but they're cute, and a really, I think it adds a really cute extra little detail on there. If your blue paintbrush, which I do not have close by, but same difference. With your black, what am I even gonna do black on now? I guess just accents. Okay, with your black, I'm gonna open that. Let me see if I can get any black out of here. All right, I just want a little black on the end of my brush. If you want to give your little turkey some eyes. There we go. And then, you know, if you wanted to do a beak too, you could do that. I'm gonna leave that be. Just like that. Okay. All right. Next up, I'm gonna do these white. Okay, and then I'm going to do this white, and I am, just for fun, to show you that whitewash I was talking about. I'm going to get my sponge a little bit wet. Work some white paint into it. Okay. And those long strokes. And with this, if you wanted to add a little bit of character on top, I'm going to just do a little bit of that. This is still my damp wedge we used for that stain. Just going to kind of add a few little swipes here and there with that and go around my edge. And if anywhere it gets a little crazy, just take our white one again, go back over that, work it in, and there you go. Kind of a distressed finish there. I like it. Okay, finally this gobble gobble up here is white. Okay, we are just about done. Last thing we have to do is our pie. And like I said, we're going to mix some pieces together to do that. I'm sorry, mix some colors together. So I'm going to do orange and tan. And I want more tan than orange. And like I said, I'm doing this last so that obviously you know how much paint you have left and whatnot. You'll have plenty. I'm just going to do a hint of orange in there and then see how I like it. Looking for that color of, you know, a pie when it comes out of the oven. All right, I think I want a little bit more orange. Okay, so a lot of paint in my wedge. I'm going to work this into a pile here. And it's not bad that I have a lot of paint in my wedge. I just need to make sure that I don't start on my edges. So I'm going to start on this piece. This is going to get covered up with this piece. So I'm going to start here to kind of see what I think and work up. I like that. And I'm going to add some of that dark brown too. I'm probably going to add a little bit of white to the dark brown. I don't want it to be, don't want it to look burnt, just a little golden. Okay. All right, so here's my brown. Add a little bit of white and mix this together. Bring in a little bit of this so that we're kind of staying in the same color family. And I only need a like hint of this. I need okay. All right, lift this up. So this is going to go this way. And so, I don't know about y'all, but when I take a pie out of the oven, which I don't do very often, just the pieces that stick out the most are where we've got some darkening. So, just going to run that along my edge. And then I'm going to blend it kind of back out. And if I want to do it again, I can. I can do this down too. I just wasn't sure if you guys would be able to see. So I'm gonna do just a few more dabs, and then because pies are not perfect, I'm gonna do a few little spots in here, you know, just as if those were areas where the crust was thinner or whatever. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stick this on there. And then I'm gonna work on just the top for just a second around my hearts. Okay, and then blend that back out. Okay. So there we have our pie crust on top of our, oh, you know what? I'm going to paint those hearts, this darker color that we came up with over here. So I'm just gonna swipe up here at the top so that what shines through is that darker color. But also if you wanted to like do like a pumpkin pie kind of impression, you could do that orange. There's not a lot of, or whatever kind of pie you bake at your house. You could do it red just to match the red hearts and the rest of your project. I kind of like just the subtlety of how that looks. So that is our finished piece. And this is going to go in one of your stands, and your little circle can go in one of your stands. Okay, so we are ready to assemble with your super glue. That doesn't go there. Just need a couple dabs on the back of this guy. Your super glue, just a little bit. Only in the center. Don't want to get on your fingers. Right. Set him down. Don't really need to push with the super glue. With your pieces, remember to be careful when you pull stuff off your paper so it doesn't get, you don't break anything. All right, so there's our gobble gobble. Make our gather real quick. So the end of our gather is the heart. So I'm gonna line these up so that my my grain is going in the right directions, making sure that I don't, accidentally do one that direction. So, whoop. My heart, and then do these closer to the top because these are going to sit in your tray. So you don't want it, you don't want to make it where it won't sink down in there. Glad I did white on these. Okay, there's that, and let's just have this guy. This one is probably this one is the most delicate, so when you peel it away, just make sure that you are supporting the piece and peeling the paper away from it, not trying to bend the piece away from the paper. So always give thanks here, and then your last little heart is going to go on there. You know what? I took one heart away thinking I didn't need it, and I do. So you guys will have, this heart goes on your tag, and you guys will have one more heart. Where did I stick it? Yeah, there we go. All right, I'll do my pumpkin tag real quick. I think I kind of like it without the heart here actually, but It can go on the background or it can go here on your little pumpkin. I think I'm gonna stick it right there. Okay. And then, let's see, I have one more heart here that I can paint quick. So it's gonna go in the bottom of my Always Give Thanks. Okay, so it can go there or there, anywhere, whatever you think. All right, there we have it. That is our finished set. We learned a new, learned how to do our garlands, and we've got this piece and another tag and our pie. And in your tray, you're going to set your gather letters. You can stain the tray also if you'd like, so it matches. Or you can paint a different color, whatever. You don't got space, huh? There we go. All right, happy painting, guys.